Green, a police officer, is tasked with delivering money to Bilam, a prominent prisoner with opulent accommodations and private guards. Bilam is a drug lord who manages his business and controls drug trafficking while imprisoned, both inside and outside of prison. He also owns a company that deals in human trafficking, drug trafficking, and the sale of weapons. He chose to remain in detention because his adversaries cannot harm him there. It's easy to see why so many assassins are dispatched to assassinate Bilam, especially given that his head is worth $1 million. In contrast, incoming detainees at Bilam's prison are shown to their assigned cells. Officer Green also confronted a prisoner named Jack Stone, who had been imprisoned for the murder of a police officer's comrade during a heist. Officer Green became enraged and punched Jack in the stomach, sneering that Jack would not be in jail long. A week before, Jack and two of his friends robbed a bank in order to obtain solid evidence to use in exposing acts of tyranny and corruption by government officials and a number of police officers who collaborated with Bilam. As soon as he had the money and the necessary information, Jack left the area. The police then surround Jack and his two companions, and the cops shoot and kill Jack's two companions. Jack was able to flee to a nearby building after knocking out several law enforcement officers. A police officer appeared from the shadows and threatened to confront Jack as he was about to leave. Following that, Jack removed his mask in front of the officer, which surprised the officer because Jack was also a police officer who had been concealing his identity. Jack pushed the police officer without thinking, causing both of them to fall from a great height. The officer was instantly killed, but Jack escaped with his life. Jack did this on purpose because the officer was one of the officers involved in the murder of Jack's wife. Following that, Jack turned over all of the evidence and information files pertaining to the dishonest act to a journalist named Tricia. He then directed Tricia to conduct an investigation and report back to the prosecutor's office. When Jack returns to prison, he is placed in the same cell as another inmate named Silva. During lunch, a prisoner named Semyon approached a new prisoner and asked for security money. Semyon is also Bilam's cousin. Semyon beats the man because he refuses to give Semyon any money. Following that, Semyon approached Jack and asked for financial assistance. But before Semyon could threaten Jack, the man struck him and knocked him and his men down. This happened before Semyon threatened Jack. Semyon and his men were then placed in solitary confinement, and Jack was allowed to resume his leisurely lunch. The guards then lead Jack to a room with a surveillance camera where he can communicate with Bilam. Bilam then warns Jack not to interfere with his business while he is imprisoned. He also reminds Jack of Bilam and his henchmen murdering Jack's wife. Furthermore, Bilam attempted to threaten Jack, but Jack did not appear to have taken Bilam's warning seriously. That same evening, 3 fellow inmates who had broken into Jack's holding cell unexpectedly attacked him. Jack, on the other hand, was able to quickly knock out all 3 opponents without even waking Silva up. Meanwhile, Tricia is attempting to investigate the facts and discover the identity of Jack Stone after obtaining a file containing information about corruption committed by police and government officials. Tricia went to the prosecutor's office the next day to speak with that individual. However, the prosecutor was unexpectedly summoned to a crucial meeting, and Tricia was directed to hand over the information file to Mark, the prosecutor's assistant. Tricia was skeptical of Mark and said she would return to the scene to speak with the prosecutor face to face. Tricia was waiting in front of the prosecutor's office to meet with him and tell him about information she had about police officers and government officials who had committed corruption. Tricia then pays Jack a visit in jail, declaring that she is conducting an investigation into the information he gave her. Following that, Jack advised Tricia to exercise caution and make proper use of the information she had gained. Jack returned to his cell and reflected on the wonderful times he had spent with his now deceased wife. Following his altercation with Semyon, a fellow inmate named William approached Jack and advised him to remain vigilant. Jack, on the other hand, claims he has no fear of Semyon or Bilam and then inquires about Bilam's holding cell location. According to William, there was an absolute need for secrecy. Many of the wardens were also unaware of it. The setting abruptly shifts to a women's prison, where 2 inmates appear to be in physical conflict. One of the prisoners was transferred to a different location after the guards arrived and detained the 2 female captives. Elena, the woman, appears to have been brought before Bilam, who was also present, along with a large number of other prisoners. Semyon and the other male detainees were found to have made a personal profit from drug sales and had requested security money without Bilam's knowledge. Elena was also sent because she had defeated one of Bilam's most trusted female minions. Bilam then held a competition in which the winner could kill Jack Stone and deliver the man's severed head in front of him for $10,000. Following that, William informed Jack of the situation. The other inmates immediately plotted against Jack in order to win the Bilam competition. However, with William's assistance, Jack can easily defeat all of them. Bilam, on the other hand, received a call from District Attorney Johnson, who stated that a female reporter had evidence and information relating to corruption committed by Bilam's police officers as well as government officials. Johnson's statement was relayed to Bilam over the phone. Bilam then asks the prosecutor to remove the female reporter, claiming that he will remove Jack Stone before the end of the day. Jack is assaulted again while working in the laundry room, this time by the prison warden. This time, Jack is beaten even more severely. When Jack emerged from the laundry room, he was greeted by a swarm of inmates ready to assault him. However, Jack previously stated that if $100,000 was divided by the number of convicts who would attack him, only $11,000 would be awarded to each individual. The prisoners eventually abandoned their plan to attack Jack because the risks were too high, and they fled the cell block. Meanwhile, inside the women's prison, Elena approaches Bilam's female henchman, Kat, to apologize as directed by Bilam. Elena purposefully provokes Kat so that they can fight again, during which Elena pretends to be asleep while Kat beats her up. Elena was transported to the hospital for treatment of her injuries. Elena removed her handcuffs as soon as the nurses and doctors left the room, took some booze and narcotics, and placed them in the mop bucket that William frequently used. She then crept into the air vents to find the location of the room's surveillance cameras. To avoid being discovered, Elena, the only person who knew where the surveillance cameras were, dashed back to the hospital room. The nurse was making her way to the exam room. Because William arrived so quickly and diverted the nurse's attention, Elena was able to sneak back into the medical room without being discovered. While they were both assessing the situation, Jack inquired about William's time infiltrating the organization. It has been revealed that Jack is aware that William is an undercover FBI agent rather than a real prisoner. William deliberately assumes the identity of a detainee in order to expose corrupt police officers and people associated with Bilam. Elena had been William's partner throughout the entire 6-month covert operation. They are attacked by other inmates who are also held at the facility after explaining everything to Jack. Jack was placed in solitary confinement as a result of the incident, and William was summoned to Warden Blaine's office. It was feared that the incident would spark a riot. Blaine threatens William with money if he wants to remain in prison because he attacked Bilam's henchmen. Blaine demands that William hand over some cash because the prison guards cannot ensure William's safety without security money. Bilam's daughter soon came to see him, and he was moved out of his cell to make room for her. William orders Elena to begin her mission as soon as Bilam steps out of his cell. Elena was hauled away by a prison warden after she pretended to be asleep in order to escape. Elena and William, on the other hand, unexpectedly render the warden unable to continue his duties. William infiltrated the control room, while Elena infiltrated the CCTV monitoring room while disguised as a security guard. Elena notices from the CCTV cameras that Bilam will soon leave the visiting room after his daughter has vented her rage at him for being a criminal kingpin. This will happen after his daughter has finished her tirade. When William realized this, he opened the door to Jack's isolation room and let him out. William informs Jack that he and Elena will accompany Jack to Bilam's location after Jack has rendered the warden helpless. Following William and Elena's instructions, Jack quickly assumed the appearance of one of the prison guards. Soon after, Warden Blaine and several other prison guards discovered that someone had broken into the CCTV camera room. To get away from there, Elena dashed into the ventilation duct. When William realized he didn't have much time left and that Bilam was approaching his cell, he slammed all of the prison doors open, causing chaos throughout the facility. As a result of the convicts banding together to assault the security staff, a vicious feud erupted. Green is desperate and attempts to flee the facility, but Jack stops him and instead pushes him into a crowd of other convicts, who then beat Green. William and Elena appear to be equally concerned with repelling attacks from all directions. Semyon stops Jack as he approaches Bilam, and the two immediately resume their battle. Jack is stabbed in the stomach by a knife stolen from him by Semyon. Regardless, Jack was able to defeat the man. As revealed in another scene, the prosecutor and Allison appear to be plotting Trisha's murder and the destruction of her evidence. Allison almost kills Tricia before an FBI agent, Mark, intervenes to save her. Mark had been posing as a prosecutor's assistant and investigating corruption by District Attorney Johnson and other government officials. When William assassinates Warden Blaine and the other prison guards, Jack tracks down Balaam and the two engage in a hand-to-hand fight. When Jack became powerless, the man remembered his deceased wife, causing Jack to rise again and defeat Balaam and exact revenge on him. The SWAT team quickly arrived at the prison and took command of the situation. Then William introduced Jack and Elena. Balaam's gang had been defeated both inside and outside the prison, and William's boss wanted to congratulate him on the achievement. Jack also expressed gratitude for their assistance in his retaliation. The FBI eventually arrested all public servants and police officers who had worked with Balaam and were found to be corrupt. William arrests Jack and later promotes him to FBI agent and makes him his partner. If you enjoyed this video, hit the like button and subscribe for more videos like this.